Hi, everybody. Welcome to another exciting edition of Casino Marketing University. Today, I've got a very special host, a first-time guest on the show, Jim Sulima. I've known Jim for 10 years. He's been a director of player development at multiple properties throughout the U.S. for the last 15 years. Jim's got a wealth of knowledge. I'm excited to tap into it today. Jim, thanks so much for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So as most of us know, the Super Bowl happened a few days ago at the time of this recording. Very boring Super Bowl, kind of shellacking, but it shattered records again for online bets, right? We're in a new world where every year iGaming, sports betting, basically online wagering is just growing every single year. And you being the smart casino marketer that you are and the entrepreneur that you are, you recently launched a course, iGaming, sports betting, VIP hosting. So why don't you give us the overview? Tell me, like, what's this course about, and what can people learn from? Not infomercial, but just set the stage for iGaming, sports betting, where it is today.
Absolutely. So I think up until probably the last 5 or so, we were used to this traditional type of casino player. Whether it was a younger guy playing blackjack or a elderly person playing slots, you could pretty much these types of players. Now with this whole iGaming sports betting player, it is a new type of player. And this player is very interesting in its habits and its natures and how it plays and how it wants to be communicated to, and most importantly, how it wants to be hosted. It's been very interesting as I have probably thousands of interactions on a regular basis. And I really feel like this individual, once categorized, you can effectively communicate to them if you know how.
Now, are most of these players solely iGaming players, or are they iGaming and brick and mortar players, or what do you see and how do you host them differently?
Yep. So it's very interesting. The iGaming sports betting player is very socially awkward. They're not your traditional player. I mean, they're doing it on their couch in their living room, watching the game at home or, at the local pub. Definitely different than your, let's go out on a Friday night and play some blackjack and grab dinner. With that understanding, when you first make contact with these types of players, it's very important to establish which type of communication channel they want to be, spoken to. Is it a call? Is it a text? Is it an email? One of the first tips I can give anybody is, hey, how do you like to be contacted? Is it text? Is it email? Is it phone call? I don't know if it's just a me thing, but I have a lot of these guys FaceTiming me, which I mean, I'll answer it. Hey, what's going on? I don't know what that's all about, but that has happened to me countless times. And I can honestly tell you, out of all my traditional brick and mortar casino players since the iPhone came out, because I started with the BlackBerry and then transitioned to the iPhone. So I've been here with the iPhone since then. I've never had a traditional casino player FaceTime me, but I can guarantee you I've had countless interactions via FaceTime with these iGaming and sports betting players.
And what level iGaming player are we talking about here that gets a VIP host?
Absolutely. So this is very, very interesting. Lots of theories out there. One theory I heard, and I kind of liked because it made sense, was if you were to deposit more than $10,000 in 1 month, you would be a VIP player. 10,000 CTR, kind of like that's a lot of money going back. I've heard that theory. Another is your bet per game, $100 or more per game that you're betting. At the end of the day, two things matter: handle, which is coin in, right, and win loss. The theoretical concept hasn't been very determined yet in iGaming and sports betting. For example, if I were to bet parlays, which would be the equivalent of playing Firelink, right? Like super high payouts with tons of volatility, versus just betting a game on the money line. The theoreticals on those two players are so different that it hasn't been determined yet. So handle, actual win-loss, that's how you're going to determine your VIPs.
Got it. Okay. So you've got a player. So recap, iGaming player. You figure out early on, all right, this person, hey, how do you like to be communicated with? Turns out some of them like to just FaceTime, for whatever reason. And then, so they say, I prefer texting. Then what? How do you build the relationship? What are the next steps with the iGaming player?
Yep. So then you need to figure out how much they want to be communicated, which is very different, right? Because some of these guys just want to be taken care of, and it's extremely transactional. They deposit money, they want some type of bonus, right? They take a big loss, they want some type of bonus. Some of these other guys want to be talked to like you're their best friend. So it's how you build that relationship slowly. I don't think you text your players every day, but I think twice a week is more than acceptable. Once a week, they're usually gambling more than once a week when they're that iGaming sports betting player. In the traditional casino world, I've heard people making contacts once a month. It needs to be more frequent, I feel like, with the iGaming, because you need to establish that relationship sooner, because you're never going to get FaceTime with these people until you do an event. So the best way to build communication with people is to reach out to them. But you got to walk that fine line and feel them out. These players, call it 25 to 45 or so, they're going to let you know if you're hitting them up too much, or you're going to be, left unread or not responded to. One thing I will emphasize, speed of service is very important to the iGaming sports betting player. When they deposit, when they need something, they want it now. So they're not the traditional 9-to-5 host isn't going to fly. It's definitely more of a lifestyle being an iGaming sports betting host, because you have to remember most sporting events happen at night and most iGaming happens super late night. I'm talking 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And then you wake up and you check your phone and you have, 15 or 20 text messages and you're like, oh man, I'm not saying you need to be 24/7, but you do need to be available.
And so as a brick and mortar casino host, I'd imagine most of the things you do for players are, hey, let me pop you dinner, or let me, just physical world type things that happen on the property. What kind of things is an iGaming player asking for? As a host, what can you do for them?
So the biggest is the deposit bonus, right? So I'm going to deposit X amount of dollars, and you're going to give me X amount of either straight cash, right? Free bets, or some type of, if they play X, they'll get X, right? Like almost like a release bonus. At the end of the day, it's some type of money that they can end up either free bet, like betting free bets, for example, or they turns into cash. But it's some type of percentage based on what they're depositing. Another thing they do is free spins, right? So we're used to like free, like promo chips or free play. They do free spins as well. You might throw them 50 or 100 free spins. That's another thing I've seen. But generally speaking, deposit bonuses, which is a percentage of the money they're putting in, you're going to match in some type of, lack of words, currency, I guess you could say, or promo currency.
And is that at the discretion of most iGaming hosts, or it's just hosts at a certain level, or how does that work?
Yeah, so generally speaking, every host will have a certain, call it authority in which they can give out. And then depending on the state and your license and stuff, you'll have more authority to give out more. And then it goes up the ranks from, host, executive host, so on and so forth, all the way up to like director level or VP. I've done some, when I say wild, $30,000, $50,000 I put in people's accounts. And it was just like, no big deal. Like, oh, here you go.
Wow. And so we've been using kind of free spins and free bets and things interchangeably. Are a lot of players, is there crossover between sports betting and online slots, or it's kind of two different players?
So it starts up at sports betting, and then they'll slowly transition into table games, like iGame table games, and then slowly to slots. That's usually the funnel in which that happens. You'd be surprised with the amount of people that are very disciplined and only bet sports. That is a big part of it. But generally speaking, they will take a shot on, some blackjack or some free spot if you incentivize them, which is obviously the cross-sell aspect.
And then you mentioned events earlier. So a lot of times your relationship is being built online, FaceTiming, text messaging. And then tell me about events. Like, how often do you have events? Like, tell me about the event strategy.
So, back in the day, the yearly calendar dictate the events you did. For example, we just had Super Bowl. So doing a Super Bowl party. Next up is Valentine's Day. After that's going to be March Madness. Then you have Masters, and then you go into the Derby. So you could use the calendar to build your events out. The thing that the iGaming sports betting places need to do is, because they don't have a physical location, they need to partner with either golf courses or really cool venues. Top Golf would be another good example. Or they can host players at games, bringing players to actual games. We did a great one company I worked for, we had a whole Yankee suite. I mean, we could fit like 100 people in this thing. It was so cool. It was in the middle of the summer. So the iGaming sports betting companies partner with other places to do their events, but games, events, so on and so forth.
Very cool. Well, I've known you for a long time, and one of the things I'm always impressed with is how you expand your network of players. I've seen you do it mainly in the brick and mortar world, but I assume the strategies apply to iGaming as well. So why don't you walk me through how you use your existing book of business to grow your book of business?
Absolutely. So I'm a big of pay it first. So when I, whether I have the player, whether I get introduced to the player at the property, whether they're giving me a book of business, I want to make sure I treat that player the best I can, give them the best customer service, do as much as I can. And after I feel like I have built that relationship, I'll go in and ask for the referral. And the referral is very simple. Hey, do you have any friends that play similar to you? Because they're going to be able to, they know how much they play, right? So it's like, hey, do you have any players that's never been here before? Oh, yeah, I know Joe Smith down the road. He's never been here. Great. I'd love for you to invite him. That's one aspect of it. The other thing is that you could do an event at your property and tell them to bring in some players that have never been there. That's another way of doing it. The last one, and it works very well, and it's a little bit pricey, but the ROI is a home run. You go to their hometown, right? So you go to wherever there is. And if you can find a restaurant owner that is a player and you host an event at the restaurant and have them bring their friends that also gamble, that is a knockout. I've used that so many times. People get to eat, they're with their friends, they're at their hometown. And then at the dinner, you introduce yourself, you hand out your business cards, and you invite them back to the property for the following weekend.
That's really cool. And so how often, because I would assume, and this is sounds like it's a bad assumption, is that like, hey, if I'm working at this casino, this guy's coming in, he doesn't live too far away. Probably all his friends have already been here, but you're saying you'd be surprised that how many people are in your area that maybe only play in Vegas or play a competitor and just never been in?
Absolutely. And you have to remember, like in these regional markets, if you're in the destination market, there's multiple properties inside that destination, like Vegas, right? You got so many properties out there. But if you're in the regional property, if you go 2-3 hours away, that's still a car ride away. If you have accommodations for them, they'll make the trip for you. And they're doing it to pay it. You've paid into that relationship, so it's a way for them to pay it back, which I love. It's like, listen, he treats me good. He's going to treat you good. Why don't you link up with them? And it just works. It all comes full circle.
Well, hey, Jim, we've gotten some really rich golden nuggets here. I'm excited. I don't want to go too much longer because I feel like this could turn into a 4-hour interview, but we definitely need to do this again. And then for folks that are interested, they want to learn more about your strategies, and how do they, one, tell us about the course that you just put out, and then two, how can people follow you on LinkedIn or get a hold of you? Yeah,
absolutely. So we'll start with the LinkedIn. So if you were to just search me, Jim Sulima, I'd pop right up. I'm also going to be launching my website, superhost88.com. That should be up next week. And lastly, the course, the iGaming VIP host, which is going to be for sports betting and iGaming. I could send you the link. I have a school. It's free to join. It gives you the whole walkthrough, and it really gives you that extra edge. It helps you communicate to these guests and correctly host them. Jim, this has been awesome. Thank you so much. Definitely doing this again. Sure. The restaurant trick is gold. I love that. And there's a lot of things that any host or casino marketer listening to this will be able to make more money with. So thank you for all this knowledge, and let's do it again soon. Absolutely. Thank you, Craig. Appreciate it.